Often we hear someone coming out of a movie theater say, "My God, what a picture. What a job of acting. I was so moved that I cried my heart." While his or her companion says, "I was bored to death." For the latter, there was no emotional resonance to the particular story or character. The reason for this is that we all bring to the theater varying experiences and attitudes that affect how we respond to a story. The same thing happens to people who hear political speech and have diametrically opposite reactions about it. Not long ago I saw Runaway Train, a film directed by Andrei Konchalovsky about the flight of two escaped prisoners, with wonderful performances by John Voight, Eric Roberts, Rebecca De Mornay, and Kyle T. Hefner. The picture was only moderately successful at the box office, but I was overwhelmed by it, largely because of what I brought to the characters. As mentioned previously, throughout my life I've always had a strong need to feel free. So the escaped convict, played by John Voight, who stood atop the runaway train at temperatures 20 degrees below zero, determined never to return to prison, even knowing that he was likely to die. And I saw myself, I experienced his feelings. Emotional reverberation made the picture an extraordinary experience for me. Other people who don't want that freedom would see it differently. For them, the natural, desirable state is to submit to authority. I recall watching Nazi propaganda films made by Hitler's filmmaker, Lady Riefenstahl, in which thousands of people gathered in the stadium. As the Fuhrer arrived, they raised their hands in the Nazi salute, transfixed and mesmerized by the experience. At such moments as this, the German people invented Hitler, just as Americans invented some of their myths about FDR when they listened to their fireside chats, wanting to believe that he had a solution to their problems in the depths of the Depression. The Germans of the stadium at Nuremberg didn't know that Hitler was an unstable, maniacal personality, and that the people around him were thugs, liars, and murderers. They were creating myths about him in the theater of their minds. They cheered, marched, and saluted on automatic pilot, no longer masters of themselves, because they imbued Hitler with their dreams of wanting to be led and to feel proud of Germany again. There is theater in everything we do or see during the day. As Hitler demonstrated, one of the basic characteristics of the human psyche is that it is easily swayed by suggestion. Our susceptibility is to the phenomenon, and it is the job of the actor to manipulate this suggestibility. As in On the Waterfront, or, for me, Runaway Train, most effective performances are those in which audiences identify with the character and situations they face, then become the characters in their own minds. If the story is well written and the actor doesn't get in the way, it's a natural process. Ultimately, I suppose that's what makes people willing to part with their hard-earned cash and enter a theater, is that it allows them to savor a variety of human experiences without having to pay the normal price for them. Maybe it's equivalent to the emotion people feel when they jump off a bridge with a bungee cord tied to their ankles. They fall 200 feet and experience the sensation of being at the edge of death, and bounce back safely, just as we do when we walk out of a theater unscathed after undergoing a harrowing experience. It is no accident that plays are performed in the dark. This allows audiences to exclude others and be alone with the characters. In the dark, other people cease to exist. There's something peculiar about the process, which started long before Greek drama. It probably began when men first left their caves to hunt, and the women, children, and old men left behind danced and acted out stories to counteract their boredom. Acting, not prostitution, is the oldest profession in the world. Even apes act. If you want to invite trouble from one, lock your eyes on his and stare. It's enough of an assault to make the animal rise, pound his chest, and feign a charge. He's acting, hoping that his gestures will make you avert your eyes. Storytelling is a basic part of every human culture. People have always had a need to participate emotionally in stories, so the actor has probably played an important part in every society. We should never forget that it is the audience that really does the work and is a pivotal part of the process. Every theatrical event, from those taking place in Stone Age caves to Punch and Judy shows and Broadway plays, can produce an emotional participation from the audience and become the actors in the drama. A lot of actors are credited with great performances that really weren't extraordinary, because the audience simply was moved by a well-written story and situation facing a character. As I've already said, Terry Malloy in On the Waterfront is a good example of this. I was moved by The Elephant Man, in which John Hurt portrayed a man in Victorian England who was afflicted by a horrible, disfiguring disease and was heckled and ridiculed by strangers. But as the story evolved, his humanity was revealed, and he became every member of the audience who ever maintained dignity in the face of hardship or abuse. When I saw the picture, I cried because I was touched. John Hurt's a very good actor and has proven it in several parts, including Caligula in the television production of I, Claudius, in which he was brilliant. His role in The Elephant Man was one of those actor-proof parts, and he just couldn't miss. Still, the reverse is often true. Sometimes actors are given a nearly impossible challenge because the story is poorly written or not realistic. When they do a good job, they don't get the credit they deserve. I've seen many great performances go unrecognized because the audiences don't realize how difficult they were. Of course, different actors apply different techniques to attain their goals. Laurence Olivier is an example. After the sun set on the British Empire, England began to lose touch with Shakespeare and the great traditions of the British theatre that were the legacy of the greatest writer the world has ever known. But almost single-handedly, Olivier revived the classical British theatre and helped to stabilize English culture. Contributions were unequalled, though of course he had the help of the wonderful repertory actors of the Old Vic. While I believe that Larry did his best acting towards the end of his life, when I think of him as an actor, I perceive him mostly as an architect. He designed his parts beautifully, but they were like sketches engraved with an etching tool on a sheet of copper. He said every line the same way every time. He hated the thought of improvising and said, "I am an outside-in actor, not an inside-out actor." Everything he did had to be structured in advance, and he always stuck to the blueprint. He was uncomfortable with me and the other actors influenced by Stella Adler and the Russian school of acting, and probably felt a much deeper kinship with performers whose roots were more traditional. This kind of acting can be effective on the stage because the audiences are far away. It becomes absurd in movies, in which audiences can see actors' expressions magnified hundreds of times in close-ups. Larry shared one characteristic with other British actors I've known who wouldn't play it down. In The Entertainer, for example, he played the decrepit Cockney vaudeville song and dance man, Archie Rice. But he refused to talk in a Cockney accent, even though the part called for it. He wouldn't use an accent beneath his own station in life. He simply spoke in perfect English. I've heard it said that I should have devoted my life to the classical theatre as Olivier did. If I wanted to be a great actor, I agree that I should have played Hamlet. But I never had that goal or interest. For the reader who has gotten this far in the book, I hope by now it is apparent that I've never had the actor's bug. I took acting seriously because it was my job. I almost always worked hard at it, but it was simply a way to make a living. Still, even if I had chosen to go on the classical stage, it would have been a mistake. I revere Shakespeare, the English language, and English theatre, but American culture is simply not structured for them. Theatrical ventures ambitious enough to accomplish something truly worthwhile seldom survive. The British are the last English-speaking people on the planet who love and cherish their language. They deserve it, preserve it, and care about it, but Americans do not have the style, finesse, refinement, or sense of language to make a success out of Shakespeare. Our audiences would make a pauper of any actor who dedicated his career to Shakespeare. Ours is a television and movie culture.